The Ferrari stand, and Paul is he's made a beeline for the California.
Yeah,
you like the California, Paul?
Well, I mean, everyone likes all Ferraris normally. It's a bit of a default setting, but I think if you were going to have something that you were going to use regularly, in line with, say, the DB11 we've just seen,
yes.
I think this would be a good candidate. You know, the folding hardtop's great. It's a good size V8. Still pretty, but kind of a bit sensible with it.
Yeah, and this is the
and actually again 2+2. So.
2+2, and this is the California T, which has the twin turbo engine from. Actually, was introduced first in the California, and then went over to the 488 to replace the 458's normally aspirated engine. I mean, it is a very practical, sensible
and they've
car.
revved it pretty fast now, isn't it? They've revved it up a lot.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but if you take my Speciale, where it revs to 9,250,
yeah,
this is 7 and a bit, so it's a bit lower. I've driven the 488, and it does seem to shift early. I mean, it doesn't shift early, but you know what I mean. Have a seat, Paul. Got it. So Paul tried the Alfa Romeo 4C, and he couldn't get in. It's electric, Paul, and they're probably at the side. Well done. Yeah. So, you know, Paul's 6'3", so you know, I imagine that he has to have it quite a bit back, but at least you're looking under the top of the windscreen here, which helps. You know, in the Alfa,
I think I could actually drive it.
Paul was looking into the wrong spot. It's a very, very attractive driving place, and you know, they've finished them beautifully these days. And you know, it's an everyday car, and as Paul was saying earlier, of course, it is a folding hardtop, so you can leave it out in the streets of whichever city you happen to be in without worrying about somebody breaking in, and it might be there when you come back. I think they're all twin clutch auto gearboxes these days. I don't think they do a manual anymore, which actually probably suits the nature of this engine, Paul. I suspect.
Yeah, this is for cruising around, isn't it? It's not a track car.
And we've come here straight off the Aston stand, so you know, what do you think, Paul? The thing is that this is quite a lot more expensive than the Aston.
I think the Aston is good. That at the moment, that
takes the biscuit.
I think so.
Okay, well, I'm going to walk over and have a quick look at the 488. They introduced very recently the 488 Spider, which is just back here, and I'll go over there in a second. The 488 has also got the twin turbo. I am actually quite interested to see where it revs to. Excuse me, where is it red line to? Can you see? 8.
So it's less than the
well, I have a Speciale, so that's 9,250. But still, that's not bad for a twin turbo. Yeah, precisely. Sorry about that. It's a very, very nice man letting me poke my camera in front of him. No, and it's a lovely looking car, the 488. I mean, I always think that the 458 is quite iconic, and the Speciale particularly, we don't know yet, but it may well be the last of the naturally aspirated Ferrari V8s. So we're gonna walk over to the 488 Spider, which seems quite a logical thing to do at this point. Hugely impressed with the hardtop Spider roof, and I think this is a very attractive, Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if it's an expensive car, but
they've just, I mean, it's obviously in the style of the 458, but I think they've just butched it up a little bit.
They have. I'm not utterly sure about, maybe I'm biased of course, but I'm not utterly sure how pretty the huge vents in the rear are.
Yeah, it catches, it does shriek a little bit. It's a one design feature that kind of jumps out a little bit at you.
But they probably need it, don't they?
Yeah.
Because they need the air to the turbos, I suspect.
they've moved away from the triple pipe, presumably on this.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. In fact, very close to the Speciale. Yeah. You can see the central rear fog light has moved to the. Actually, that might be the brake light. I'm not utterly sure. Like the diffuser adds a certain presence to the rear of the car. So we move over to the GTC4 Lusso. Now the GTC4 Lusso, of course, has gone back. I point this out immediately. It's gone back to 2 rear lights on either side, which I think on a wide car does look nice. I mean, I had a 575 which had 4 rear lights, and I always thought that looked slightly preferable to the 2 lights. But again, on something like the 458 and 488, the 2 lights at the rear look good. I like the 4 lights though. Now this is a replacement for the FF. I ran an FF for 3 years, so I know this car pretty well inside out. Obviously they've introduced the standard, the glass roof. We'll pop in here because the major changes to this car are on the inside. So, new steering wheel. Okay, the indicator buttons can be flicked from the rear as well as from the front. I think that's probably a little more intuitive. I always found on mine that it was very easy to work out which one to press until you had the steering wheel upside down and you were sort of flicking it through corners. Very neat steering wheel, like the straight bottom on the steering wheel, but not that different to the way it was in the FF. We still have the rev counter in front. The one thing about the FF that I loved, and the 575, is the V12 engine noise is epic. You just can't explain how fantastic it is until you actually hear it. I miss my FF. But on the middle, the entertainment console, as I call it, which is a 12-inch screen now, is bang up to date. The system in the FF was ready for an upgrade, and you can probably see from the other side we've actually got a control unit for the passenger. So I know that you can scroll through that to actually get media, navigation, performance, and actually information about the Manettino. The Manettino, as you can see on the steering wheel, controls which setting and how aggressive you want to be in your driving style, all the way up to the point where all the electronic controls to help you if you get into trouble are switched off. Yes, it's definitely a move upwards in the inside. Like it very much. So back on the outside, you can see that we have cooling ducts here on the side, whereas the FF didn't have that, and quite clearly the indicator's been moved down. What I do like is, I think, and I can't be absolutely sure without seeing the 2 side to side, I think they've moved the Ferrari Scuderia badge slightly higher. I think it was further down on the FF. Wheels look very similar. The front of the car is very similar to the way that it was before. Obviously the front camera is mounted in the bumper itself, whereas I think it was a little bit neater before. It was below there, which was just above the prancing horse, and you couldn't really see it. I mean, that's not as subtle as it could be, perhaps, but they will have their reasons for mounting it there. Shape is quite similar. The doors seem to be straked maybe slightly further back, which has allowed the sill to be slightly exaggerated, but not to a great extent. And I think it's quite similar to the FF in that respect. What this car does have, one of the key technical innovations on the car, is the 4-wheel steering. It's a first for the FF. Was introduced on the F12 TDF, so the Tour de France limited edition version that they introduced at the end of the summer, and apparently it provides massive stability, both going into and coming out of corners. One innovation that used to annoy me on the FF is you couldn't open or release the rear door without going back into the car, whereas now the button is below the bumper, and it's exquisitely upholstered in the back. You know, the seats go down to provide extra luggage room, and this is a true four-seated car. You know, I mean, I've had the family, and both my family are 21 and 18. I've done long distances with the family in the car, which, you know, is testament to the type of car this is. Again, electric closing rear tailgate. I do like those lights. Those lights at the back are phenomenal. It needed those. And the diffuser's being completely redesigned, as you can see as well. Although the diffuser on the FF was exciting, but I think this is very slightly more extreme and gives the back end a severe look. You'd never know. You'd always realise this was a serious performance machine. Thank you very much. Go now, please. Yeah, so I think overall, an absolute stunning update of the FF, which I have to say, I'm even more impressed than I expected to be with it. It's fantastic. So, to pick ourselves up, we're quite interested in the Artilier part of Ferrari. They've got a California with a stripe, but this is where you're actually able to uniquely design your own Ferrari. I don't know whether you're getting reflections off the glass here, but it's out of range colours and different upholstery, even down to the fact that you can probably get different dashboard type design. And I know they've done a number of quite unique cars. So here we have the V12 engine, presumably from the GT4 Lusso. Ferrari know how to design an engine. One of the things apparently, which is a little beyond my comprehension, is the way they've designed the outlets, and apparently that the way that they've designed them allows them to tune the engine note more specifically. Although certainly from the FF, the engine note was so fantastic, I'm not sure how they improve upon that. So it is a work of art, isn't it? I mean, it's the sort of thing that you think in future generations might well be in a museum. But you look, the intricate work on the manifold there is just incredible, and everything is design following function. So beautiful to look at, but the best possible way of getting exhaust gases out of the engine.